Welcome to IFA Galaxy's webinar series, Mr. Subramanyam, and thank you so much for sparing time to talk to us. Can I request Srinivasan Manicare to quickly introduce the speaker as well as the topic, and so that we can proceed. Srini, over to you.
I don't need much of introduction to Subra. Subra is a chartered accountant. He is an educator, he is an author, he is an investor, he is whatnot. He has a very popular blog called Subramanyam.com. Just got a million of people coming in and watching him and say what he's going to hear, what he's going to say. And he's a very, very popular man. So we welcome you, Subra.
Hi, welcome.
So,
go ahead.
Yeah, so the floor is all yours. So before you came, I had given a brief introduction about the topic, but it's all yours, sir. Absolutely. Please go ahead.
So, hi, good evening, good afternoon, evening, we'll go on. So my topic, Srini was very clear that my topic has to be anything other than retirement. Normally I speak about retirement, so I said that's not a problem. So my topic is very clearly the businessman needs an IFA. When I say businessman needs an IFA, what I mean is, first of all, when we go to a businessman and we try selling him a mutual fund or even an insurance, we largely tell him, sir, put some money in a mutual fund. I think you have to change that approach. And when you go to a businessman, see, what are the two problems as far as an individual is concerned? If he's a salaried person and he fails in, say, personal finance, it's still okay because he's earning regular income. So he can't make too much of a mistake. He can buy one bad ULIP or something like that. Other than that, he won't make major mistakes. What happens for a businessman is he gets money in lump sum. And then it is possible that he may not get money for a very long period of time. So for him, knowing how to deal with lump sum money and long period not getting money or getting money continuously for some period and then not getting, all those problems are there for a businessman. Nothing like that is there for a salaried person. So let us list down what all problems you think that a person in business has. So first of all, a businessman does not separate himself from the business. So he does not take a salary. He does not do any of those things. So my recommendation to all of you is, when you meet a businessman, ask him to separate the business money and the personal money. Because from his business also, he should take a salary even if he is an IFA. Like for example, you also should take a salary. As an IFA, you should take your salary and put it in another account and spend for your household expenses. When you combine everything, you do not know whether you are profitable or not profitable. So if you think you deserve a salary of 30,000 rupees or 50,000 rupees, every month try taking away that much money and putting in a separate bank account. Whatever you think is the figure, but keep it separate. It is absolutely necessary for businessmen to keep this separate, because in other businesses, people give bank guarantees and things like that. As an IFA, we don't have those. We don't have borrowings. We don't have credit being given to clients. None of those things, and we don't negotiate on price. So we don't give discounts. Now, if he's a normal businessman, he has to give discounts. He may not be able to collect money. He doesn't know from whom how to collect money. None of those things he knows. We are lucky because we don't have to do any of those things. We have to just put in the application, and on the 31st of the month or on the 7th of the next month, you will get your commission. Nothing you can really change much. For a businessman, that is not true. He has to plan his cash flow. So where does it begin? Suppose you meet a client at the very beginning stage, you're very lucky. Then you tell him, okay, keep everything separate. Keep a credit card separate for your business. Keep a bank account separate for your business. Keep all those things for a business which is separate and for a personal which is separate. Keep one separate dabba in which you will put all the bills belonging to the business, and then give it to your chartered accountant to calculate your tax for the year. When you start doing all this in a proper manner, right, when you're earning 2 lakhs a year, it becomes very easy, even when you're earning 20 or 30 lakhs. So first, this discipline. When you keep this discipline, especially for a businessman who is giving bank guarantees and all, then it becomes easy for us to explain why one source of income and one house should be kept out of the purview of all the business activities. Now, when you tell him all that, suddenly his respect for you goes up. Every businessman, you should open 3 accounts. Okay. One is a liquid, one is ultra short, and one is a pension plan. Ultra short, you don't, in liquid, you may not make much money, but keep on putting all his money into liquid, because businessmen are very funny. Suddenly they may come out with some request for money. They will tell you, I will never need this money, but they will suddenly say, I want this money. So you ask him, why you want this 8 lakh? No, my friend told me Europe trip is now very cheap, so we want to go to Europe. So liquid fund la paisa hai, can we go? He'll do that. So where do you make money? You make money in the pension plan. You tell him, this money which you're putting, you cannot touch it till you're 60. Now everybody has a pension plan. You decide which pension plan to put. So once you start him on all this, after some time he'll come and tell you, oh, I got 30 lakhs lying in liquid, I got 45 lakhs lying in ultra short, tell me what to do, I can invest it. Then you start investing in equities. Please remember, if you are dealing with a professor in a college, his income is like a debt fund. It is very clean, smooth, plain, it will come. Whereas if he's a businessman, his income could be fluctuating. So his income is like equity. So for him, he has to have more money in ultra short and liquid fund than a professor. Professor need not keep any money here. He will have no emergency. And in case there is an emergency, his college might pay. For an employee, his employer may pay. If he's admitted in hospital, his employer will make sure that somebody picks up the bill. That is not true for a businessman. So businessman has to have more liquid money. So all that should be lying in his liquid. So if his monthly expenses are say 1 lakh, then at least about 12 lakh should be lying in his liquid. Not because he's going to need it only for his personal use, but suddenly he might need it even in his business. He may need 2 lakhs. So that you have to make a habit for him that all his money in liquid only should be touched. No other money should be touched. He should have some money in ultra short bond fund. And in the ultra short bond fund, he should say you can touch it only after 1 year or 1 year lock-in. Just tell him there is a 1 year lock-in. May not have any lock-in, but tell him there is a 1 year lock-in. After that, you can graduate him to a higher, less liquid fund, which means something like a 3-year fund. You say, okay, if you want money, put it for 3 years there. Then you start pushing him into equity very slowly in terms of doing an SGP, because he's got money lying anyway. 15 lakhs, 20 lakhs is lying in liquid. From liquid, you do an SGP. Slowly start building up his portfolio. Now, what happens is suddenly you have taught him a lot of discipline. His business money will also come into liquid. So suddenly you're not making money in liquid, but you have a lot of his money lying in liquid. So when he's got say 20 lakhs, 30 lakhs, 50 lakhs lying in liquid, you can tell him, sir, why don't you put a little more in ultra short bond fund? So put it to ultra short bond fund. And from the liquid, you start doing an SGP. Suddenly, if he comes and asks for a lot more money, you say, boss, you got only so much in liquid. Baki vanda, there is some money lying in ultra short, so we can remove the ultra short. But the pension fund, you cannot touch. You sit down and estimate how much he requires for his retirement and start putting away that much money. Assume you'll get 3% return or 4% return, that doesn't matter, and start putting heavily into the pension fund. Pension fund also will have 30-40% in equity. So that much of equity is enough for a businessman. Please understand, his own life is like equity. Therefore, he has to have more in debt. So this is what I do when I talk about asset allocation. If suppose there is a professor in a college, let's say an IIT professor, he is going to get a salary till his age of 67 or 68. And after that, he's going to get a pension. Assuming he's joined after 2004, he may not have a pension, he may have NPS, but at least those things are there. But you don't have to worry that he will lose his job. IIT professors don't lose their job. But suppose your client is a businessman, he's an equity trader. If he's an equity trader or he's a sub-broker for equity, obviously his income will fluctuate a lot. Like right now, his business must be doing well, because if you see brokerages are doing well, but it could go to zero. Right. So equity broking income can go to zero. It may be difficult for you to believe, but I've been there and I know that equity income can go to zero. So in such cases, what do you do? So in such cases, you need to have some money lying in liquid or ultra short for him to be able to remove. Similarly, if his wife is, suppose he's an equity trader, but his wife is an IIT professor, then remember, between the two of them, they're very well placed in terms of asset allocation. Then you can take a little more risk with their portfolio. But if he's an equity trader, obviously 30% of his portfolio maximum or 25% of his portfolio should be in equity. The remaining should be in, right? Debt funds are also paying decent trail. So please sell more debt funds because it's an old habit, especially older IFAs don't like to sell debt. And some of them may have got hurt recently in the Templeton thing also. So they're more worried about, why should I sell debt? What am I going to get in debt? You're not going to get anything in debt, but debt you'll have liquidity. When the client needs money, you will have liquidity. Now, why do I say that a businessman needs an IFA? That was the topic, right? So businessman needs an IFA because as an IFA, you should be able to help him across all this. You should be able to tell him, sir, you're just starting a business. Should you be a sole proprietor? Should be an LLP? Should you be a private limited company? I am not saying he's going to consult you, but when you talk about all this, you say, sir, you ask your CA. The advantage is he realizes that you know all this. You may not give advice, and if you give advice, he may not take, and the CA may say, why did you ask an IFA? You should have asked me. So that doesn't matter. Don't give him advice, but talk to him about all these things. Because if he's a sole proprietor, he will never take salary. If he converts himself to a private limited company, he will take salary because the CA will tell him you have to take salary, and salary is tax deductible. As a sole proprietor, obviously salary is not tax deductible, but you should still take the salary because only then you will know whether the business itself is profitable. So you tell him all those things, he will like it. Secondly, also tell him by keeping one source of income and one house in his wife's name and free of his name. In the worst case scenario, especially for people who have a borrowing, in the worst case scenario, if everything is attached, at least his wife's house and that source of income, whatever be the source, if it gives him 3-4 lakhs of annual income, at least that will remain unattached. So whatever happens to him, at least he will have food to eat and he will have shelter, right? Otherwise, people have a problem. Next, what you do is you say, sir, do you have a residential house? If he has a residential house, you have to write a will. Sorry? Sorry?
Babu, please mute everybody. Please mute. Somebody is talking in the middle.
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
Sorry, sir,
so
please continue.
Yeah. So when you go to a businessman and you find that he's got property, then there is all the more reason for him to make a will. Very many IFAs don't know what is their role in a client making a will. Please understand, you have a very important role. When you go to a lawyer will say, oh, you are married, you got one wife, you got 2 children, okay, make a will like this. Whereas an IFA knows him better. IFA will say, sir, you're very young, you got a mother, father also, so make them also a beneficiary. Suppose you're 32 years of age, good chance that your parents are alive and you may want to make them their beneficiary. If you're 50 years of age, but you're supporting one attai or one mama or some relative, then you need to have to provide cash flow for them also. You cannot have cash flow only for your children. What happens if a person has a little more complicated life? He's got married, he's got children, then that wife has died, he's got married again. So he's got children from that. So which means this man has had one wife, but he's got 3 children. From the second wife, he's got 1 children. From the first wife, he's got 2 children. Then making the will gets a little more complicated. Please be involved in making the will. Don't just tell him make a will. Go with him, sit with the lawyer, make the will, see how the will should be drafted, learn how to do, but don't do it yourself because it's a little complicated. Because when you try doing it yourself, you may make some mistake. So at least 10-15 will, 10-15 wills after you have made. After that, you can decide that, okay, it's a very simple will, I can make it myself. But the cost of making the will is so low that even for a person with a 10 lakhs, just a 10 lakh property, it is just 1%. It won't cost you more than 10,000 rupees to make a will, get it witnessed, get it notarized and register it. Is notarizing compulsory? No. Is registering compulsory? No. But it is much better to do that because it is much easier to get a probate with that. Of course, I know in Chennai there is succession certificate which they can transfer the property, and you need to do all this only in case there is a property. If there is only mutual fund and bank and insurance, then that is not a problem. Just with the nominee, all that will go. Now you come to other issues like what are the mistakes which a guy in business will make. First of all, he will not provide for adequate liquidity. It's very difficult to believe. Of course, if we had provided liquidity and we had put into some of those funds which are stuck in Templeton, then it would have been a problem. But you would not have done that, right? You would have anyway put it into 2-3 fund houses. So you would have provided little more liquidity, but those kind of things will happen. So you have to make sure that he removes money from his business and keeps it separate, because in case of an emergency in the business, he should be able to touch this money. Why does he need to touch this money? Well, when things go bad, he will need the money. And when things are good, suppose he wants to buy his neighboring shop. He's got a shop and neighboring shop is worth buying at 40-50 lakhs. Then he'll have to go to the bank and all that. You know how much time a bank will take. Now, suppose you got 20 lakhs lying in liquid fund, or 10 lakhs lying in liquid fund and 20 lakhs lying in ultra short, and he has to pay only 40. He can just remove 30 lakhs, make the payment, and 10 lakhs it's easy to arrange from a bank. Even he can take a personal loan and do it and then liquidate it, right? So those are the advantages. In happy situation, also he needs a liquid fund. In sad situation, of course, he needs a liquid fund. These are the reasons why he needs. Then once when he involves with you, you tell him why you're forming the private limited company, what are the advantages, how to separate the bank accounts of the company and of the business. When you do all those things, he suddenly starts getting involved with you. When he gets involved with you, he'll come and say, okay, I handle my company's finances. Why don't you do this for me? Then you attend business meetings. Then you realize what all he's doing, what is his strategy, how is he growing. That is good for you. Sometimes you can copy him. Sometimes you can get his businessmen as friends, and suddenly you are specializing. I am an IFA only for businessmen. Then obviously his account you get, his wife's account you get, his children's account is get, and businessman's friend will also be businessman, correct? So that means, and you use a bill as a client acquisition strategy. So you make a bill for one businessman, he'll go and say, "Arey, my IFA made my bill." Now, if he says, "My IFA did my SIPs, I also have an IFA. He also did SIP, SIP loss, loss, all that will happen. But nobody will say he does not need a bill. Suddenly you make 10 wills, 20 wills, 30 wills, right? So the most important thing which I find IFAs don't make their own will. Because எல்லாம் சிரஞ்சீவி நினைப்பு மகாபாரதம் பார்த்து எல்லாருக்கும் சிரஞ்சீவி நினைப்பு ஒருத்தரும் சிரஞ்சீவி இல்லை. So you have to make your own will. So when you make your own will, you suddenly realize, oh my God, I've got 200 clients, which means I've got to make 400 wills. And if your client is a young 32-year-old, you can be sure you have to make for his father. And if your client is a 65-year-old, you have to make for his son, because all young boys and girls also buy property. Anybody who has property should make a will, right? And when you're making a will, you have to be very careful about the wording. So if a father is making a will and he's got 3 sons, he should say sons, the name, daughter-in-law's name, children's name, everything. Suppose one son is unmarried, then he should say, my third son, Suresh, who is currently unmarried, but this will includes him, his wife, and children who are to be born. You can do that also. Because then what happens is suddenly the father dies and he's married. And if the third son dies before the father, then his wife and children will get nothing, right? So you have to be very careful about these things. This, of course, a lawyer will also tell you, but as an IFA, if you tell all this to your client, he's going to be very impressed with what you know. And making a will is a little complicated. Don't think it is simple. It depends on it depends on many things. It depends on, first of all, it depends on your community. Community means your religion. Whether you're an Hindu, you're a Muslim, or a Christian, it depends on that. And on that also, it depends on sect and subsect, right? So all that is important. Learn everything, sit with a lawyer and learn, but understand what all have to be protected. So if he's a doctor who is in practice, make sure that his bill, he has a keyman insurance, then the beneficiary of that should be the partnership firm, because the money that they get will be used to repay the loan. If that money goes to his wife, that wife will not be able to repay the loan. The firm will have to repay the loan. So if he is taking a term insurance, in that term insurance, his partners or his partnership firm will be the nominee. Whereas the other term insurance, which is taken for his daughter's education and son's education and all that, in that his wife will be the nominee. But in the will, he has to mention all that, because the will supersedes the nomination. Suppose in the will he says, all my mutual funds, everything belongs to my wife, all my insurance policies belong to my wife, then that prevails. And the firm will not be able to get the money in case there is a problem. So you have to make sure that all the nominations are in place and the will is in sync with the nomination. So if the nominee is the son, the will should also say son. If the nominee is his daughter, the will should also say daughter. Don't make it at a conflict. If you make it at a conflict, it is a will which will prevail, right? So I've covered starting the relationship, the type of organization. You should read up on all that and talk to him. Explain to him how much of insurance he needs and why he needs. Explain the need, why he has a pension fund. Now what has happened, you opened one liquid, you have opened one ultra short, and you have opened one pension plan. Obviously, the pension plan, you keep on putting money, especially whenever there is a bonus. If he comes and says, oh, this month I did very well, I got extra 20 lakhs, 30 lakhs, you at least put away 5 lakhs into that pension fund. What does that pension fund do for you? It gives you a fantastic trail. It makes sure that you are in business, and as your clients increase the size of their pension contribution, it means your pension is taken care of. That trail will be able to help you during your old age. So that's an advantage for you. It's a good product to sell. Do you make money in liquid fund? Well, not much, but you have a huge advantage. Whenever the client needs money, you will be able to give. Will the client ever anticipate and tell you in January that he needs money in June? Rarely. Even a client who says that regularly will suddenly ask in May itself, I told you June, but is it possible to get that money in May? So these are all reasons why you keep on keeping some money in liquid fund. Keeping money in liquid fund can look very bad, especially when the bull market is there and the equity markets are going up, and then you feel, oh, why is my money stuck in such a low yield? But your money in a liquid fund can look very smart when there is a problem like now. All the money is stuck in various places. People are unable to collect. So in such circumstances, you're better off saying, oh, at least I have some liquid money available. So this liquidity is very funny. When you want liquidity, that work can be done only by liquidity. And at a point in time, so right now, what is the best asset class to be in? Very difficult to say, but you have to close your eyes and you analyze which is the asset class which makes me most scared. So today, is it small cap fund, is it mid cap fund, or is it equity fund, or is it index fund, whatever? That is very likely to be your best asset class over the next 6 to 8 months. But right now, what people will tell you is, yo, COVID is there, it's a big problem, we don't know what will happen, be in cash. Be in cash was a fantastic advice if it was given to you in January. It is a terrible advice if you're getting it now, because it may look very smart. Market may go down further from here, but market cannot remain there. When the market comes up, it will look like a very bad decision. So that which gives you maximum comfort now, which means cash. Right now, people saying, oh, romba uncertainty, I should be in cash. So everybody who wants to be in cash now will feel very comfortable. And 6 months later, it will look like the worst asset class in which you could have been. Right. And that fund which gives you the most discomfort, and you feel, oh my God, I should not be in this fund. I'm very scared. It is very scary. What should I do? That is very likely to be the best performing. It could be a sector fund. It could be anything that could be performing much better than the cash. But well, cash is what you have. Right. Hello.
Babu,
Yeah,
please mute. You muted. You can go ahead, sir.
So just one second. So the other problem, as I see, is when a small business fails, there are many reasons why a small business fails. One is they don't understand credit, they don't understand costing, they don't understand collection, they don't understand discounting. So the small businesses fail. When small businesses fail and their personal finance also fails, that family ends in disaster. When personal finance fails for a salaried person, it's still okay because he can't lose much. But for the businessman, when he loses there and when he loses here, then it becomes very difficult. Therefore, he needs to pay a lot of attention to personal finance. The other problem is he's very likely to come and tell you, "Illa sir, and liquid la venda, in my own business, I'm getting 18% return or 22% return. Why should I be stuck with a 4% return or a 5% return in a liquid fund?" This is a very common excuse. I just said why you should be able to explain to the client all that. Most small businessmen don't understand taxation the way IFAs understand it. So explain to him. For example, one great example which I keep giving people is, instead of keeping money in a bank FD, if you keep money in a liquid fund or an ultra short fund, you pay tax only when you want to. In a bank FD, you will pay tax very regularly. Secondly, you keep money in a bank FD, you will have to break the whole thing. Of course, you can break it partially, but you're much better off with a liquid fund. And I think, to the best of my knowledge, liquid funds are pretty safe. But I used to think ultra short is also safe till Templeton said ultra short can be 5-year fund. So that is a rare problem. I don't think it will ever happen again. But I think ultra short is a very good category to be in. But keep looking at the portfolio. We spoke about organizing the business, how it should be, sole proprietor, partnership, private limited company, that business organization, you can give a lot of inputs, because based on that, he has to decide how much to take as a salary, what expenses to show where. All that is based on that proportion. Just show that you know. It does not mean you give him advice. You need not give him advice. Very rarely will if a businessman sits with you, he will understand the advantage of having a good IFA who does goal-based investing. When you do goal-based investing with him, he will understand how to apply all that goal-based investing even in his business. So he will start involving you in making the business plan, etc. So that might be a great way for you to enter other businessmen. Apart from talking to his friends, etc. A lot of these small businessmen are part of some organization where there'll be 20, 30 others, where you can go and talk about making a will, or why budgeting is important for business, or things like that. Don't talk about mutual fund, SIP sahi hai, mutual fund sahi hai, nothing of that sort. You talk about this and suddenly you will get business here. That's a huge advantage in talking to business people about things other than their business. They all need to understand finance. So they will come and listen to you when you talk about finance. There you talk about personal finance, you talk about making a will, you talk about all that. That's your job. So you should do all that. Teaching a client how to create more and more of his current income into wealth. People are not able to convert current income into wealth. They earn well, but they spend it. So they don't have any cash, or they will put it in some place and they will, after 2-3 months, they will feel very itchy and they will sell it off. Whereas you have already done one thing very smart. You have opened a pension plan for him on day one. And you were putting only 5,000, 10,000. Suddenly one day he says, oh, I got 20 lakhs profit after tax. So you say, okay, put 7 lakhs into that fund. Then one day you put 5 lakhs into that fund. What are you doing? You're trying to build his wealth, which is going to use post-retirement. Please understand, post-retirement also people are going to live very long. So if a person is earning extremely well when he's 35, 40, there is no reason why he will require money till he says 60, 65, when his business stops. So pension fund will do its job. If he says, I want to put more money in equity, please explain to him, sir, business is volatile. Your income is volatile, so your assets should not be volatile. Because if your assets are volatile, exactly when your business is doing badly, your dividend income will also go for a toss. That shouldn't happen. So right, so you explain to him the advantage. Once you do all this, your involvement with him, he suddenly realizes that he has to create a team. His team will include a lawyer or a chartered accountant. It never included an IFA. Still, people like me went and shook him and said, do you know you need to do this, you need to do this. Then he brought in the CA also and said, boss, ye kya bol raha hai? What is all this? Then he realized that what all has to be done. The CA also realized, oh, you didn't tell me that you are supporting somebody else. So he's made this client is a big guy, and he's made a insurance policy with his driver as a nominee. When you make a will, you have to be very clear that, especially if you have non-family nominees, the court cannot believe why you did this. So, right, you have to write, you have to say, I so and so, which you have started with. Then you write in detail about your driver. You say, this driver joined me in 1986 and he's still continuing. He's got 34 years service, blah, 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 all that you write. And therefore, I wish to give him 25 lakhs or 30 lakhs, right? You can do that. You can afford to give. You want to give, you give. I'm not saying everybody has to give, but all those small, subtle things will add up to your relationship with this guy. You'll say, wow, he's the guy who told me that I need not lock up my money in a house. I can take a house on rent. And if he had bought a house, then you know he has to nominate, right? All those things fall in place for him because you told him. And once you tell him, that relationship continues for a pretty long period of time. Most entrepreneurs cannot understand risk or don't understand risk. So where does risk come from? Risk comes from various places. Right from walking on the road and falling down, there is risk. Is money not coming back? Is risk. His factory shutting down due to COVID is risk. The fact that he has to keep his factory closed for 2 months and just pay salaries, that is risk. So risk can come from anywhere. Sit with your client and talk to him about various types of risk. You need not know it. Investopedia has enough stuff on risk. Write down all the key points and tell him, sir, I want to talk to you about risk. So tell him in the risk, talk to him about all those things. Then he will come up and say, Arey, you do life insurance, can you do other insurance? Then you say, okay, you can do group medical insurance, you can do group term insurance, You can do indemnity insurance, right? So you get into all those areas. You never wanted to talk to him about those things, but the fact that you're involved with him in doing all these things, helps him, and he believes, oh, even the risk pati theriyum. And a guy who understands risk can always get good returns. Getting returns is secondary, because the most important thing is to know where you stand, right? Risk management for insurance for entrepreneurs is really huge. There is a lot of business risk and all which they don't understand. So you have to sit with him, cover all that. And maybe if you're not an agent, ask somebody else to buy. And therefore, because of that, you also arrive at his life insurance. When you arrive at his life insurance, sit down and calculate how much of life insurance he needs. If that formula is 10%, 10 times his gross annual income, say last year his gross annual income was 20 lakhs, then it means he needs 2 crores. Then you sit down and tell him, look, this is the risk you run, this is the risk you run, this is the risk you run. Do you want to pay more? Chances are the FII or whoever is funding will say, okay, we will bear the insurance expenses, because if something were to happen to this man, we would be in trouble. So you now suddenly become a good friend of this guy, and you are able to handle all this, including telling him when to do what, right? So the other expenses which they leave out very easily is the children's expenses. Children's expenses means marriage expenses, college expenses, and all. They just ignore. They keep thinking it will come from our own business. It doesn't come so easily. So planning for that, then planning succession. If you see, even if an IFA dies, suppose I die tomorrow, my client will call on my mobile. Obviously, my wife will say, yes, daddy. So next question will be, what happens to my money? I don't think a client is very much bothered whether you're dead or alive. His money has to be safe. So if you say, oh, mar gaya, I say, sorry, but where is my money? How can I get it out? He may not know how to withdraw it also, right? So be careful about all those things. Handhold him during those periods of time. Teach him all those things, and then he's yours for life. The other thing which is always a problem with businessmen is planning the succession. Do his children want to be in his business? I've met very many people. I'm talking of big amounts of money, something like 1,000 crores or 1,500 crores market capitalization, listed company, but the children don't want to come into it. They just don't want to come into it. They want to go away. But the father, how the father is, ayo, mudiyadu, amma heart attack vandudum, so please come here. All that nonsense they try, typical Tamil cinema, Hindi cinema, melodrama, and get the child who is uninterested also to come into the business and make a mess of it, right? You don't want to do all that. So you, as an IFA, sit down, start with his business, make sure that he keeps the accounts separate, make sure that he has all the proper assets. Largely, I'm saying liquid, ultra short, maybe one more fund and some equity funds, and very importantly, a pension plan. Whenever there is a surplus, put money into the pension plan. If he's very happy and euphoric, today I want 5 lakhs, 7 lakhs, put 2 lakhs away, put 1 lakh away, whatever you can afford comfortably, put it into the pension fund. Use the pension fund as a source of protecting the money rather than any great high growth which is going to happen. Growth cannot be happening. So the question is, how do you approach the children? So I found this family where they had a lot of money, at least 1,500 to 1,600 crores. And the father assumed that the son will come into the business. That was not true. Son didn't want to come into the business. So once the son went back to US, they cried and they said, oh, Amma Kodambu Siriyalla, Tirmava, and all that. So he came and then he's not gone back. It's a mess. If you have got 1,000 to 1,200 crores, why do you do such stuff? You don't need to do such stuff. You can live happily with whatever your son is doing or whatever your daughter is doing. So learn to live with that rather than complain. Taxation is not something which businessmen understand so easily. If you understand, great. If you don't understand, involve a local chartered accountant. Go with him to the client, explain to him why these taxes being kept separate, why his wife files a separate return, he files a separate return. Know all that, understand all that, teach to your children, make sure that your children understand what you're doing. That's about all. I'm done. I can take questions. Hello, Raja.
Babu?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So, super cool, sir. Thank you so much. That was kind of a rapid fire session that we had. Thank you so much. I will start with the first question, and I was very fascinated when this topic came about, and Srini told me about this, and I'm going to use the privilege of asking the first question, sir. So every time I've approached a businessman to talk about investing or creating a thing, I've always stumbled on the point that he always says, you know what, I'm doing a cash credit account today, and I'm paying about 16-18% interest on one side. Now you're giving me a mutual fund option, especially a liquid fund option, where I am supposed to store at 7% or 6% return. So always I've had this problem that the businessman is always trying to reduce his interest cost and says, I don't want to do something at 7%, while on the business side I'm kind of incurring a cost of 16%. So how do you overcome this?
He does not realize the cost. See, one thing very clear, whether it is a small businessman or whether it is an Anil Ambani, leverage cuts and cuts very badly. So if you're earning money, you have to take salary. Again, he will use the same arguments. Our salary vanginda the pano saving bank la tungo. What is the point? I might as well pay. You should not pay so much interest. You should cut down your business. At least masam 50,000. You should be able to keep it separately in your wife's account. Keep a separate stream of income. He has to understand when things go wrong in this country. See, tomorrow if I want to put up a fertilizer plant for 12,000 crores, they will come and take my personal guarantee. If something goes wrong, what are they going to get? They'll get 2-3 crores out of my house. How does it help? But he will take that away, right? So we have to give those guarantees. When you're giving guarantees and all, it is necessary to keep some money away and just explain to him, sir, all equity funds are supposed to give best return, but still we create an asset allocation. We keep some money here, some money there, and your main business is like equity. It is very high risk. So some money you need in debt, at least 1 kodi, 2 kodi you need to keep separately, because if something goes wrong, he says, don't, sir, you think nothing can go wrong. We saw fund names as ultra short bond fund, liquid fund, floating rate fund. Things went wrong. It is not that it is a bad fund house or anything. We have been dealing with them for 20 years, but things go wrong. So please make sure that even if you are earning very well, even if I am earning 20% in equity, I still need to keep some money in debt, because when something goes wrong, I need to withdraw. So therefore, suppose your business is doing very well and you want to buy your neighboring office. You need liquidity. That will come only from here.
Shyam Shekhar has a question. Businessmen say I earn 15% on money invested in my business. Why should Shyam? This is exactly the question that I asked now, and it is just
So
been answered.
You should give it to Shyam Shekhar, who will get 25% on equity fund. 4 minutes. No, it is difficult, but then you have to tell somebody that even though you've got a very good asset class, it is giving you very good return, you still need to understand the need for diversification.
Absolutely with you, sir. Absolutely. Friends, any more questions, please put it up on the chat so that I can kind of take it up. Is the question outside the topic? Okay. Sir, this is a little Hakke question to you. How to start blogging? How important is blogging for IFAs?
See, I think what has happened is we have overdone it. Now, on the 12 வருஷம் முன்னாடி ஆரம்பிச்சேன் 12 years back, and I had no clue that I'm going to have so much fun. So I have started blogging, and today I'm doing blogging also. So I put a lot of videos, but I have fun. I can't say I got business out of it. I got more visibility out of it, but I've enjoyed doing it. But if you can't write, you please start your blog and get somebody else to write. You can get enough people who are willing to write. Use them. Don't try writing on your own. If you don't know how to write, don't do it.
But you think blogging is good for business?
I don't know, if everybody starts blogging and writes the same thing, Prashant Jain enna sonna, Naren enna sonna, then people are idhe copy dane pandra. So then you have to be like today, for example, I've written something about Kalpen Parekh's article. Asad Madhi or article engo vandadu avanapati. So I've written about it. I wrote about Santosh Kamath. I wrote about Naren. I write about those things because you talk to them, you can write. Konjam edavadhu interesting allana bore adikum.
Okay, I understand. So what I understand from you, just to paraphrase what you're saying, is it has got to be interesting for you to communicate, not just
Yes.
about trying to make money. Am
Yeah,
I
I
right?
mean, I can imagine Srini writing about drama and all that. He can write very well. But what will Srini write about equity funds? What will we all write about equity? There's nothing great to write. So, but Srini can write about so many years experience of all that. If he starts writing, he should also write personal finance. I'm not saying you shouldn't write. He should make the blog interesting with all that stuff. Then people will come.
Maybe connect personal finance and drama, maybe in that form, in some form.
Yeah, something like that.
Absolutely. Lots of questions pouring in, sir. So, what's your Babu Arunachalam asks, what is your quick market outlook, sir? Where do you see the market? I mean, COVID is kind of really on all our minds. And yeah,
COVID is exaggerated by city folks. கிராமத்துல ஒன்றும் கோவிட் ப்ராப்ளம் இல்ல கிராமம்லாம் நல்லா தான் நடந்துட்டு இருக்கு we are exaggerating but we don't know that the most important thing is we don't know. You ask a CEO of a mutual fund, he'll say 2 months everything will be sorted out. You speak to a pharma guy, he'll say it takes 2 years to make a vaccine. So I think the truth is between 2 years and 2 months somewhere there's an average when things will sort out. Yes, some industries will definitely be badly hit like a hotel or an airline. But some business like a fertilizer or a sugar may not be hit at all. So you have to know how to build your portfolio between that. I think a fund manager will know.
Fabulous, sir. Done. Sir, Pradeep Raja asked, what is your sense of the Franklin episode, and when do you think we should expect repayments from Franklin? What's your sense of the Franklin episode?
The very optimistic view is you will start getting the money in June. Let me put it this way. They have to first do the e-voting. So first of all, you will get an email saying how e-voting works. Then e-voting, everybody has to give consent that, okay, we want Franklin Templeton to handle it. Then the trustees will give it to the Franklin Templeton team. Once they give it, they will be able to sell and start giving the money. Very, very optimistically, by 25th of June, Makla, you should get some money. I think ultra short within about 12 months, you should be able to sort it out. Credit risk and all may take some time. But you look at it from Templeton's point of view, some 25,000 crores is stuck. Suppose they are able to solve 22,000 crores. I think they will put 3,000 crores from somewhere and shut it, because only after that will IFAs start allocating money to them. Otherwise, IFAs will not allocate. So on the chicken or egg, should we bear the cost of 2-3,000 crores and be done with it? Illa chumma apdi 2025 siklam ponaka, people would have forgotten them. No IFA is going to allocate any business till he repays all this. And today Templeton is excessively dependent on IFAs. So அவனுக்கு வந்து it's cut a fine line. அது கொடுக்கணுமா இது கொடுக்கணுமா அப்படி பண்ணுமான்னு. So ஏதோ பண்ணிடுவான்னு நினைக்கிறேன். But I have to be optimistic. My own money is stuck. My client's money is also there.
Absolutely fantastic view, sir. I fully understand where you're coming from, sir. Quick, lots of questions. Please stay with us as I read. Can you share your views about what you visualize the future? That's been answered. Can you refer a good lawyer? That is not, everybody has to find their own. What is the appropriate age to write a will? How assets purchased after writing a will can be added? So will is a one-time activity, sir. But every year asset changes of the client, right? So how does one get all those changes?
Okay, you just say assets as per enclosure, and that enclosure will keep changing. That is not so much of a problem. Actually, will should change only when there is a major change in your family. குழந்தை பிறந்திருக்கு, யாருக்காவது கல்யாணம் ஆயிருக்கு, அந்த மாதிரி ஏதாவது. இல்லாட்டா you just say mutual funds lying here, equities lying here, bank account so and so, house number. You don't buy a house every year. Then that is the only thing which you. But otherwise, mutual fund 1 crore இருந்துச்சு, இப்போ 2 crore ஆயிடுச்சுனா nothing. I also saw a question which says which is appropriate time to make a will. Excellent question. One day before you die. When you don't know when you are going to die, you have to make a.
No, but nowadays I also want to kind of dwell a little bit more. When you meet a client who is 40 years and who has made it big in the IT sector space, when you want to broach this topic on will, suddenly you kind of pull back whether the client will think something wrong about you.
You just say, sir, I read a very good article today in Hindu Business Line about a will. நான் அது உங்களுக்கு அனுப்புறேன். Or subramani.comல ஒரு will பத்தி ஆர்டிகல் இருக்கு. அதாவது you have to approach it like that. You don't have because people think will பண்ணினா செத்து போய்டுவேன். That is not true.
Exactly. Yeah.
That is not true. நெருப்பு சொன்னா வாய் சுடாது.
Good point, sir. Good point. Absolutely. what are the key points to have in mind while advising businesses run by trusts? Is there anything that we need to understand a bit more?
Okay, trusts are very difficult to run because, see, trusts, for example, trusts run a big hospital. The trust allows them to only pay money for the assets. So if they want to buy a hospital, if they want to buy equipment, they give, but they don't give for working capital. So now trust hospitals are running out of cash because they have no income for the last 45 days, but they have to pay salaries. These are all things which you have to worry about. So when somebody makes a trust, you have to tell him, boss, such emergencies happen where for 45 days there is no income. How will you pay salary? So these are the things to be provided for. But largely it doesn't change much, except that trustees have to be convinced for a lot of things. It is easier to convince the board of directors to do things, but very difficult to convince trustees because they may not know the business much.
Absolutely. Sir, Deepak wants to understand whether you continue to remain bullish and you're adding to your equity holdings in these current environment.
Sir, I have been investing since 1979, and the only
wow.
thing is equity.
Very
What can
good.
I do? I keep adding equity, but I may add different equity. I may sell one equity and buy. See, I don't sell equity. I only switch. So I may sell. So I may sell an Indian hotel or something like that and buy a fertilizer share or a sugar share where I know there has been less impact.
Fabulous. Absolutely. Sir, are there any risk attached to arbitrage funds? Babu Arnachalam wants to understand. Now that a lot of fund houses are positioning arbitrage as as another place for debt funds. Money moving
The problem is with the name. The name is very clear. It is an arbitrage fund because at any point in time we should only have options and cash. But we don't know what else he's doing. If he's investing it somewhere else, like I did not expect an ultra short bond fund to have a fund which an asset which is about 5-year duration, but they had. So you have to keep looking at the asset and then see what they're doing in arbitrage. And between arbitrage and liquid fund, if the difference is not much in terms of return, you might as well be in liquid. So arbitrage, there has to be enough opportunities for the arbitrage fund to earn money. I don't know whether they'll have enough opportunities.
So the key message is to go through fund fact sheets to understand more about where they're investing.
Also learn, because see, I know if I ask Santosh Kamath, why do you have a 5-year fund? He'll say, Subra, you at least shouldn't ask that question. I have a put and call option. So 6 months later, I will use the put option. I know what he will do. But when people see it, they say, you should have seen this. We've got a 5-year investment. But, but I know he will be able to exercise the put option in the next 6 months.
Absolutely. So after Templeton, should we be worried about placing money in ultra short-term funds? Valadi Bharatwaj has this question.
I don't think so. You should not worry. You should keep looking at it. Please understand that only Templeton ran a completely different business. Templeton ran 2 businesses. Actually, Templeton ran 3 businesses. One was equity. One was his regular debt funds, which said nice AAA, AA and all that. Those funds are still running and running well. There is no problem. He ran one business which he shouldn't have run as an open-ended fund. He should have run his credit risk fund and all as a close-ended fund or as an interval fund. Providing liquidity in a credit risk fund when times are bad is impossible. Why him? Even State Bank of India cannot do. So that is a big risk he ran. So he stumbled. But he's been giving 9% return. People have been happy with that return. 14, 15 years he's been giving. People like me have been numbed because we have been invested in Templeton since 1999, 2000. And we always thought it is a well-run, process-driven company. So my question is not against Santosh Kamath. My question is, what were the trustees and internal control and internal audit doing? Why were they not pointing out to him? Because when I am doing it, I may be blinded. I may be making mistakes. What were the people near him doing? That has been my question.
So maybe the risk department of Templeton needs to answer a lot more questions. Absolutely, sir. Absolutely.
Yeah, but this is typically when you run high risk, you should run close-ended or interval funds. You cannot run open-ended credit risk funds. During such times, it will get exposed. Otherwise, it will not get exposed.
So a follow-up on that question is there a need for a risk manager? We all the fund houses as a chief investment officer.
They all have a risk manager. They all have a risk manager. Unfortunately, whether it is IFA Galaxy or FIFA or Cafe Mutual, everybody calls only the fund manager because they got the maximum sex appeal. Yo, Naren Vara, Anand. They are not so. It's like, in surgery, Everybody looks at the surgeon saying, who is the surgeon? But the person who manages your pain is the anesthetist.
Absolutely.
Nobody will know the name of the anesthetist. Heart surgery panna. Yaar Dr. Chowdhury. Who is the anesthetist? Anesthetist, I don't know. But he is the person or she is the person who is managing your pain. So you should get next year for IFA Galaxy, get some risk manager, whether it is equity or debt. Ask him to come and speak and ask him what are the risk controls that he does. Those questions we don't ask.
This is a very, very valid point. My takeaway for this session is this aspect. Thank you so much, sir. We will include risk managers going forward in all our sessions to explain. Lots of questions pouring in, so please bear with me as I'm trying to read those questions. Now, I can't understand, Mr. Singarvelu, what we answer to salary-based clients in COVID situation. I'll skip that. Venkateswaran has asked a question. Now, with whatever is happening in the debt space, can IFA start look at guaranteed insurance plan for long-term debt portion of the portfolio?
This is wrong because you're talking of a 3-month fund. Ultra short is a 3-month fund, and guaranteed insurance is a 30-year fund. What are you comparing? You just can't compare. This is not. Yeah, it's not fair to
compare.
They're
apples and oranges, absolutely. Okay, sir, done. Paddu has a question, sir. Retirement fund for businesses, are you suggesting the fund named retirement, or you choose a multi-cap fund and stay invested for multiple decades? What is your suggestion? Do you want to go into a specific pension fund or a retirement fund, or do you allocate or designate a certain multi-cap fund as a retirement fund?
Actually, it depends on the client and the client discipline. A disciplined client, you can put into anything and let it grow. But some clients are not disciplined. Then you better put it in a retirement fund and say, sir, it is locked in. You cannot touch it for 20 years. You cannot touch it for 15 years. That is a decision you have to take. And chances are in a retirement fund, you will do better, because the trail in a retirement fund will be better than in an equity fund. That is not bad, because anyway, the other funds which I'm suggesting are liquid and ultra short, where you are not going to make any money. So overall, between a liquid fund, ultra short, and a retirement fund, if you make 0.75 to 1%, not too bad. Because the retirement fund may pay you 1.35 and this may pay you 0.05. So on an average, you will do well.
Okay, super, sir. Thank you so much. Shidit Ravi has a question. I'm unable to pronounce his name, sorry. Can enclosure to the will change? That was answered after writing the will. Anup Maheshwari has a question. I've started SIP for the whole family of businessmen with 30-40% in debt too since last 4.5 years, but they withdrew it for operational need in March. Now they don't want debt SIP. How to tackle this? How to keep liquidity once the businessman has removed the liquidity? He doesn't want to keep the liquidity back, is what Anup Maheshwari says.
Actually, this is very foolish, no? Because he has benefited by the liquidity. Because he had the liquidity, he could remove it.
Exactly.
Only because he had the liquidity, he could remove it. Now, if he doesn't keep the liquidity, next time if he needs liquidity, where will he go?
Absolutely.
Babu, can you mute others, please?
Yeah, Shobna, can you mute, please? Yeah. So next question is coming from our Srini. Will as an annexure of investment has this to be taken at cost or current value? How to indicate it in the will? You don't even have to even put a value. You can just say list as per list and keep that list. Just say my demat account so and so. So you don't need to have a list, because the list is dynamic. Today you have one share, tomorrow you'll have another share. So shares don't put, just say scheme of mutual funds lying in Templeton, Mirai, HDFC and Invesco is also good enough. You don't have to mention the folio number, nothing is necessary. So please understand, most of your liquid funds, liquid assets don't need a will as much as your illiquid. Your real estate needs a will. Your Templeton mutual fund or your Mirai mutual fund will anyway come to the nominee. Make sure that the nomination is updated, because when a boy starts his life, he would have made his mother the nominee. Then when he gets married, he should change the nominee, or when his mother dies, he should make his wife the nominee. That is very important. Nominee has died, that could be a problem. Point taken, sir. Sir, K.S. Venkatesh wants you to explain in Tamil what is a haircut and a segregated portfolio in debt funds. Okay. In the Templeton in the R fund segregated everything has become segregated only.
As and when they collect, they will pay. இப்போ segregated fund என்ன, அவன்கிட்ட 100 ரூபாய் இருக்கு ஒரு ஃபண்ட்ல, 5% அதுல வோடாஃபோன்ல பணம் வரப்போறது இல்ல. So what Santosh could have done two things. One is write it off to zero. NAV வந்து 100ல இருந்து 95 ஆயிடும். அதுக்கு வெளியில போறவனுக்கு 95 கிடைக்கும், உள்ள வரவனுக்கும் 95. ஆனா கொஞ்ச நாள் கழிச்சு அந்த 5 ரூபாய் வந்ததுனாக்க போனவனுக்கு நஷ்டம், வந்தவனுக்கு மகா லாபம். He was not expecting it. அவன் 95 NAV-ல வந்தான், அவனுக்கு இப்போ 95ல இருந்து 100 கிடைக்கிறது, அந்த 5 ரூபாய் வந்துடுது. அதனால சப்போஸ் 2.5 ரூபாய் தான் ரைட் ஆஃப் பண்ணியிருந்தா, அப்புறம் 2.5 ரைட் ஆஃப் பண்ணியிருந்தா, புதுசா வரவனுக்கு அவன் இல்லாத போது நடந்த ப்ராப்ளத்துக்கு he still bearing a price, which is unfair. So therefore it is kept segregated. Segregated matters only for the guy who is leaving or who is coming in. Anybody who is going to be in the fund anyway, நான் எப்படியும் விற்க போறது இல்லை. 95 ரூபாயில நான் இருக்கேன், என்னோட அந்த 2 ஃபோலியோ காட்டும், உள்ள 95 காட்டும், உள்ள 5 காட்டும். கொஞ்ச நாள் கழிச்சு அந்த 5 வந்துடும், அப்போ 95 வந்து 100 ஆயிடும், அவ்வளவுதான். ஸோ இருக்கிறவனுக்கு ஒன்றும் ப்ராப்ளம் இல்லை, வெளியில போறவனுக்கும் உள்ள வரவனுக்கும் தான் அது அட்வான்டேஜ். இட் ப்ரொடெக்ட்ஸ் த பீப்புள் who just don't know. ஐயோ இதுல வோடாஃபோன்ல ஏதோ ஆயிடுச்சு, அவன் வெளியில போனாக்கா ஆனாலும் அவன் போனதுக்கு அப்புறம் அந்த ரூபா கிடைக்கும். ஸோ segregation is meant to protect people who come in and go out. Those who are anyway going to be in the fund, it doesn't matter.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. What is your view should be about allocation towards passive index funds in a long-term investor's equity portfolio? Within index funds, what is there are two parts to it. What is your view on Nifty Next 50, mid cap, small cap, Nifty 500 indices?
Actually, for a person who is going to break up into all these things, he's better off in a managed fund. Because if you don't know what percentage you have to break. If you believe so much in indexing, there is only one index fund in the world where you have to put money. That is the Vanguard World Index Fund, where India is 2%. Because they will put in US, France, China, Japan, every place, and India will be 2%. If you really strongly believe in indexing, that is the only index fund. But if you believe in index fund in India, as I see it, is in a part of people's portfolio. Nobody does exclusive indexing. Because people will do exclusive, then somebody will say, I will do equal weighted indexing. Then somebody will say, I will do indexing without PSU. So it's a big mess the way people make it. So I don't know how. I don't believe that mid cap, small cap and all matter, because sometimes when large cap does well, some mid cap does well. But if you're anyway saying I'm going to look at it only after 30 years, 35 years, then it doesn't matter. But if you're a person who's going to look at it on a day-to-day basis, then you should have some gold fund, liquid fund, everything you should have. And you should keep looking. To me, no, it makes no sense. Should you be in an index fund? Yes, you should be in an index fund if you don't understand how to invest. So if you say, I don't want an IFA, I don't want to understand, I don't want to do anything, then you stick to an index fund. Otherwise, you have to look for chasing alpha is our job. Whether we get it or no is something different.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, sir. Shyam Shekhar has a question, sir. Do you think we should have close-ended funds? Take off on your earlier aspect.
Absolutely.
Why have we not had successes so far in that space? Why do you think we have not
Because it is not being marketed well. I would market a close-ended AIF rather than a debt fund, because I want only a HNI to come into it. I will launch a close-ended AIF with a 10-year lock-in and say partial liquidity after 7 years, because money given to small businessmen don't come back so easily. And if I want to give liquidity to everybody, I may have to give 40% in cash. So I become very inefficient. So if I collect 1,000 crores, I want to be able to deploy 1,000 crores. Now, if you ask me, the best managed fund will be these 6 funds of Templeton, because they need not sit on cash. All other funds are sitting on 40% cash, so it's going to become very inefficient. So I think between a bank deposit and most of the liquid funds, you will be getting better return in a bank deposit, though tax inefficient.
Okay, fabulous. Understand, sir. Absolutely. What's your take on making businesses invest in direct bond instead of mutual funds? Is Tankaraj's question. I'm not able to understand.
Direct mode means direct equity or direct...
No, direct bonds. Direct bonds.
Direct bonds are not liquid at all. 1992, R.H. Patil promised me that he's going to develop a secondary and a primary market. We have not been able to do. So you don't have too much of a market. So you have RBI bonds, which you can, where you will get 7.75%, but that is stuck for 8 years. You can't. There's no transferability. There's no marketability. There's no secondary market. No, not having a secondary market is okay, but suddenly if you want some liquidity, it's just not available. So what will you do? So liquidity illadadnala, I mean, in the equity, why am I investing? I'm not wanting to sell tomorrow. But I know in the worst case scenario, if I want liquidity, I can sell. Bond, there is no bond market, so you have no choice but to go to a bond fund. If you're afraid of a bond fund, you can go to a bank FD. But I think a ultra short bond fund or an income fund with a 10-year, 20-year horizon makes sense because you're going to pay tax after 10, 20 years.
Sir, one question as a takeoff on this from my end is that what is your thought on this 81 bonds? And Yes Bank has written off their 81 bond commitment, and Yes Bank's results yesterday kind of came out pretty profitable as compared to what it should have been had they kind of not had their obligation to pay for it and so on. So do you think this trend is going to kind of spread? Do you see a contingent problem based on
No,
this,
I think
especially on the private banks?
No, India is a very funny country, and you learn very bad and horrible things. You learned that if you invest in Indian bank, it's not a problem. Indian bank 81 is not a problem. 82 is not a problem because it is government guaranteed. But if you invest in a company called ILFS, which to the whole world look like a quasi government, you can lose money. If you put money in a Yes Bank fixed deposit, you're safe. But Yes Bank 81 is not safe. This is ridiculously bad learning which all of us had. People like me who were students of the bond fund never thought that an 81 will ever be written off. We never thought it will be written off. So in 30, 40 years of whatever I've seen, this is the first time something like this has happened. We will never be prepared for some such accident. I only hope that 81 bondholders go to court and the court rules in their favor. Then State Bank will have to be forced to pay. I never thought this will happen, and it has been missold to most of the senior citizens who had fixed deposits at 7.5%. They were told, sir, break that FD, put into 9% 81 bonds. It's the same thing. I think this is fraud on them. So at least the individual should be paid. I know Chola General Insurance has 20 crores. They can afford to lose it. But an individual with 2 lakhs should be paid. At least the individual should be paid. And I think the court will rule something like that. This is fraud otherwise.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for letting in on your views. How come almost most MF got caught in the debt trap laid out by corporates is the question, but PSN.
Sorry?
How come most mutual funds have got caught in the debt trap laid out by corporates is the question that he has raised. I'm guessing that he's referring to investing in credit risk funds, and some of those bonds have been illiquid. We have been hearing names, even respectable names like Vedanta are having some kind of cash flow issues of late. So that's what I think he's alluding. How come everybody got blindsided by this credit aspect is his question.
No, but whenever there is a credit problem, normally you have to look at it as two problems. Is it a liquidity problem or is it a solvency problem? I don't think there is a solvency issue for Tata Power or a Vedanta. Okay, it's not a solvency. There could be a delay, and that could happen. Now, suppose you are running a business like Future, and there is a Brahmastra has been used by the Prime Minister, and everybody has been asked to stay at home. How will the Future Group run? How will your hotel run? If I were running 20 taxis and I had 30 employees running those taxis and my revenue is zero, how will I pay the EMI? And this stupid suggestion by the government saying, oh, if you don't pay the EMI, if you don't pay the EMI to your NBFC, how will the NBFC pay interest? If the NBFC doesn't pay interest to the mutual fund, it will get downgraded. So if it gets downgraded, obviously 25% markdown, your NAV will go down. It's a vicious circle. So if you don't pay fees for your child, your school will not be able to pay salary to the teacher. Teacher cannot pay. We have to understand it's a cycle. Nobody is keeping every rupee at home. So you are earning as an IFA, you are paying EMI, you are paying for your car, petrol. If everything stops, then your TCS will also have a cash flow problem, no? So that is what has happened. I think if things go right in another year or two, things will get sorted out.
Okay, great, sir. Sriram has this question. What's the future for debt funds as a whole? Do you see that segment coming back reasonably well back again, or do you see the effect of Franklin kind of bear out on those segments? Will funds be more, investors and IFAs be more wary in allocating to that segment?
IFAs will not be more wary. IFAs will allocate, but something will happen. Please remember, the government has released 1.5 lakh crores that 1.5 lakh crores is going to depress interest rates. So your liquid fund will start giving 2-3% return. When liquid funds give 2-3% return and arbitrage funds give 3-4% return, people will say, "Oh, I thought a bank FD is better." So they will move away. So this will get killed because of the liquidity being created by RBI. If RBI puts 1.5 lakh crores and another 7 lakh crores lying with the bank's money, lying with RBI, not knowing what to do, all that liquidity will anyway kill the returns. If the returns in the debt market are killed, why will people come and take a chance? If I'm going to get 3-4% in a debt fund, I might as well be happy to earn 5-6% in a bank uh, and pay tax on that.
Absolutely, sir. So we have lots more questions coming in. I just wanted, we are about 5 minutes past 4. Do we have some more time with you for?
Yeah. Not a problem. Not a problem.
So Abhishek Mohta has a question: what to create an urgency for businessmen to do planning, and how to keep them disciplined? Do you have a secret mantra?
No, there's no secret mantra. You see some of them failing. You tell them this is the risk. Look at Anil Ambani kind of a person. If he did not have private wealth and he had declared himself bankrupt, he would be in jail. So you have to create a wealth other than the business. Look at his business. All his businesses have failed. Reliance Power has failed. Reliance Entertainment failed. Reliance Communication has failed. But he still has enough personal wealth to be able to afford a personal plane. Right. So how is he able to do it? He's been able to do it because he's created wealth other than that. DHFL, for example, paid out 55,000 crores from other sources and then they defaulted. So I keep telling people, before calling him a fraud, remember, if he wanted to really defraud, he could have defrauded on day one, which means he would have saved 55,000 crores of cash flow. He paid and then ran out of money, ran out of ideas. SBI caught him by the neck. He couldn't do anything. Then he said, "Boss, I can't do anything more." He gave up. So people try, but you have to have some other sources from where you can get the money. And there's a lot of risk today. If you were running a chain of hotels in Chennai and all the hotels are closed by the government for 45 days. So you have to have something extra, no, to survive for 45 days after paying salaries. How will you do that? So therefore you need to know all that.
So Padmanabhan has a question: has asset allocation funds delivered? Is balanced advantage fund a good choice? Do you feel they're taking too much high risk in terms of equity allocation at this level, at this current juncture? What are your thoughts?
Too many friends of Naren in this group. I have to be scared. Yeah, balanced advantage fund is Naren's baby, and Naren's products are always superb. But do you invest only in balance advantage fund? The answer is no. You anyway put some money in equity, some money in balance advantage, some money in pension plan. So really you're not using the balance advantage to its the fullest of its impact. So it's okay, but yeah, it will mean that you see balance advantage fund will look very bad when the market goes up vertically. Then you will say, your balance advantage given only 8%, and some high proof blue chip has given 22%. That time you will feel bad. The worst thing about this industry is they cannot tell you in advance what product you should buy. After it is successful, Patya, balance advantage fund has done very well. But sir, your main funds have not done, that is not done well. So where do you put? You will put in large cap, mid cap, small cap. So balance advantage, how much will you put? If you have 100 rupees, will you put 100 rupees in balance advantage fund? No. So yes, but if you have a 70-year-old man who says, I want only one fund, you may put in balance advantage fund or something with 35% equity. You may do that. So I don't think there is one answer. Okay, let me say something very clearly. Equity investing is difficult. Equity investing is painful. Equity investing makes money, but there is tremendous uncertainty. If any mutual fund comes and says, oh, we have this magic product which will give you very good returns and no pain, such a product does not exist. Right? Equity will be painful. You will see 7 years profits being written off in one day. Right, 2 days. So I keep saying this: Rome was not built in a day, but Hiroshima and Nagasaki were destroyed in a day. So molla, we will build a fund, and Hiroshima, Nagasaki will happen, and therefore you have to be ready for that. You cannot say going forward it won't happen. You never know who thought COVID-19 it will impact the whole world. Every other problem which we have seen has impacted some part of the world. 2008 crisis was an American crisis. We also got hurt, but it was not a crisis in other parts of the world. It was small. But this is one thing which has impacted 140 countries. 140 countries, people have died. So it's not not something small. We have never seen something so big. So we do not know. And going forward, this is COVID-1, there could be COVID-2, there could be something else. So we have to be ready for it. That's all you can do. You have to pray that it doesn't happen, but you have to be ready for it.
So Mr. A.K. Narayan has a question. What reforms are you expecting from the government at this juncture? Because having closed businesses for 40 plus days, or going to be almost 60 days, isn't it the government's responsibility to come up with some amount of fiscal stimulus and monetary stimulus that keeps businesses able to come back, at least the small and medium enterprises? Is there any thought that you have as to what will happen?
I don't know. I think we are getting carried away by seeing what US and Japan and all are doing. We are not that kind here. It's like saying, oh, Mukesh Ambani and Warren Buffett have solved the problem, so we should also solve. We are not Mukesh Ambani or Buffett, right? We are all poor people. Sorry, we are a poor country. Everybody on this call is within the top 2-3% of the country. So we better learn to give. We will get nothing from the government. We have to give. Nambat Velakara driver or a friend, we have to feed them. We have to protect them. We have to learn to give. We are very lucky that even though we have food on our table, we have a fan, we have an AC, we have internet connection, we have Zoom, we are able to chat, we are lucky. So every day we should thank God. I think Narendra Modi fiscal solution and all will be point number 37 in his priority. He has to worry about food riots, unemployment, poverty deaths, those things, terrorism. Those would be his topmost priority. Of course, he has to worry about this, but I don't think he will have the bandwidth. He's got lots of other problems. We should try solving as much as possible within our own community. You can give some money to the Vadyar saying, I know you wouldn't have got any money, or to your barber, you go and give him some money because he's not had any haircut for the last 2 months. How is he living? See them, do something for them, protect them, give them food. That is what we can do. Feed the dogs on the road. They are not getting any food. Those things should be our priority. As long as we have enough food to live and eat, don't bother. Excess.
But giving, it's a time for giving, as I understand.
Absolutely. We are in the top 2% of the country here. The bottom 98% needs help. We have to be ashamed.
Absolutely. With you, sir. Sir, Charmi Shah has a question. Should we be booking profits for clients now?
No harm, especially if client wants the money in another 2-3 months. But please understand the impact is more urban. So which means your Maruti sales will get impacted, but your Bajaj auto sales may not get impacted because in rural India, there may still be demand for smaller things. So, but however, if the client wants money immediately or within 2-3 months, he better take money out of equity also. Some of your mid-cap funds which are 5 years old and 10 years old, maybe in the money, then you take money out. So some profit booking is not wrong, especially for money which is required immediately. What money you require after 3-4 years, you have a lot of time. But what money you require within 6-8 months, I think June results will be bad. March results won't be too bad. June results will be bad. Maybe September results will be bad. But after that, things should improve.
Okay. Is there any tax benefits for creating a will? Is there a tax angle to creating a will? Is Ganesh Babu Mahadevan's question? No.
There is nothing. As of now, there is no estate duty. So there is no tax implication of death. But I'm saying as of now, because COVID related, we may get some estate duty or wealth tax. We may get. I'm not saying we won't get, but we may get. But right now, no.
So can, Alan has this question, can you also deal with the liabilities like loans in your wills, how they will be settled and how they will be,
you can, but somebody can say, I don't want to take the loan. So that, but if you are giving me an asset, suppose you are giving me an asset worth 10 crores and that has got a 2 crore loan, then you can force me to pay. If you're just saying, oh, I will give my son the house and my daughter has to repay the loan, she will say, I don't want the loan. So loan in a will cannot be forced upon somebody, but if the asset related to that is going, then that person will have to repay the loan.
So it has to go related to the respective asset.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Deepak Pancholi has this question. Some AMCs are not transferring AUM of deceased family ARN holders to ARN holders, asking for investor objection. Is that a right stand?
Boss, you have no choice. There is a golden rule of investing. The man with the gold makes the rules. So it is the fund house which makes the rules. IFA has no choice. So go and ask them before itself what is the procedure, what you have done, and each fund house is different. And CAMs can also treat each fund house differently. So better IFA Galaxy should call for a meeting of CAMs and ask CAMs exactly tell us what is the procedure. And that day, all of you complete the documentation. Looking after your money, looking after your client's money is as important as getting one extra 1% return.
No, no, what I meant to say, hello,
Ah,
they are not transferring AUM of the one ARN holder to another ARN holder.
what are they saying? What are they
Yeah.
saying?
AUM transfer family members among ARN holders.
Sir, this I think you can take it up separately with him. It's not a part of the whole discussion.
Yeah,
Sorry.
please, please. Yeah.
Hey,
So
just for information, okay.
next question, sir. Can there be a provision for markdown paper to side pocketing so that it gives relief to the investor if they want to exit?
You can see it's very funny that side pocketing cannot be done by the fund manager. Side pocketing can be done by the fund manager only on the happening of an event. So if a paper is downgraded, he can do a side pocketing. He cannot do a side pocketing by himself. He cannot say, I think there is a problem in this, so I will do side pocketing. He cannot do that. So, and side pocketing also means clawback of bonus for the fund manager. So fund managers are not too happy to do side pocketing.
Okay. Fabulous, sir. Venkateswaran has this question. What is going to happen to Franklin's dynamic asset allocation fund? They've got a haircut in dynamic asset allocation due to illiquidity discount.
No, they have not.
Will the investors of DAF fund get any money on collection from short-term income funds?
See, as long as you don't withdraw now, you won't have a problem. Once the problem is solved, they'll remove that illiquidity discount. This is not a haircut. This is a haircut only if you remove. It is not a permanent loss, so best is not to remove. If you need money, you can remove, but you will pay a discount on the debt portion because the debt portion is illiquid. But wait for some time. If you can wait for some time, I think that illiquidity discount will go.
Okay. So Ravi Kumar has this question. Do you feel that IFA association should be more proactive and work together to assuage fears in such times?
I mean, this is a difficult question to answer, but yeah, of course, as a group, if you work, but ultimately your client, see, you will be able to keep your client quiet only after 30th of June when some amount of money has come. Right now, the client is assuming all the money is gone because we have always lost money like this. Some chit fund closes down, sir, everything is gone. You very rarely got money out of bad debts. So here somebody who's got 8 lakhs thinks my 8 lakhs is gone. When he gets 10,000 out of it or 20,000 of it, he's relieved. He said, so till the checks start coming, whatever you say, people will not understand. People will shout, they will scream, you can't help it. And it can be desperate. I just heard of a lady who's got 17 lakhs in ultra short bond fund, husband admitted in hospital, needs to pay 5 lakhs, she has no other liquidity. I don't blame the IFA also because you thought ultra short means you can remove in one day. She's gone right up to Sanjay Sapre, she's gone to grievance cell, no solution available. It is not a small amount which the IFA can pay out of his pocket. If it was 10,000 rupees, he would have paid, but 7 lakhs he can't pay. So it is bad scene only.
So Mr. A.K. Narayan has raised this question, said he was not referring to a dole from the government, but based on all what's happened so far, are there reforms that you see that will follow through? What are those reforms is his question.
See, I want them to do a lot of things, but the question is, A, I don't think they have money. And second, their priorities may be different. That is what I was saying. I'm not saying they'll give a dole. They can't. They don't have money. So dole won't come. But even other things, I don't know how much depth is there in this cabinet to look at all that separately because they're worried about so many other things. And the biggest worry for them will be UP election is coming. So all those things will take up their mind. So this will not get so much of priority. We don't have a very dynamic, interactive finance minister. So I don't know what if Nitin Gadkari were the finance minister, at least I would have thought something will come. But this finance minister does not inspire too much confidence. So we don't know what will come. Hopefully something will come, but we don't know what.
Thank you so much, sir. Friends, I know that you have lots more questions, but you have to give it up for Mr. PV Subramanyam. He has been talking to us continuously for the last almost 1.5 hours now. So I think it's unfair to keep asking him more questions. So I would like to thank you on behalf.
Send me the questions on email. I will reply videos and blogs, and I also keep looking for questions. So it's okay to send me the questions.
Thank you so much, sir. Over to Shobana, Secretary, for the formal vote of thanks.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir, for this wonderful session. It was really a powerful and a practical session for all of us. It helped us a lot to know about the financial planning for the businessman. Now I'm sure that all our friend IFAs would scale up their business with all these ideas. Thank you so much for your time. I thank on behalf of the IFA Galaxy and all the EC team members and participants. Also, I thank all the participants. It was really more than 200 plus participants was there.
Wow.
For the full session. It was actually the minute we started circulating, it was pouring in the registrations, I could see. So thank you so much for this wonderful session, sir. It really added value for us. All what you gave was all new to us, and we could really, it was so inspiring. Always you inspire us. Thank you so much. Thank you, participants, for participating.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
With another session on Monday, the same time, 3 to 4. Thank you.
Thank you, ma. Thank you so much.